Hello and welcome to Authors in Espresso. I'm your host, Nadia, and today we have a real treat. Now, buckle in because her intro is lengthy because she does so much and I want to fit it all in. Now, she was featured in my 2020 Virtual Festival of Books, so thank you for coming back. Verde is the author of two powerful novels, Rainbow, released in 2019, and her newest release, Promise Keeper, released in June 2025, both of which center Black queer lives with heart, storytelling depth, and unapologetic truth. She is a proud graduate of Fisk University, where she earned a BA in history, and her deep love of Black American history and HBCU culture shines through her writing. Alongside her creative work, Verde works as a middle school special education and English teacher, my heart there, and a tireless advocate for students of color, especially those with learning differences. She believes education is one of the most urgent civil rights issues of our time. Her voice also reaches readers through her moving blog, BA's blog, including my personal favorite, Black Lives Have Always Mattered, and So Has Your Silence, and through her podcast, Verde's Folding Chair, which creates a space for Black queer women and independent writers to be heard. Verde remains deeply committed to developing her craft, having completed a post-baccalaureate certificate in writing from UC Berkeley Extension, and continues to publish stories that center on love, identity, justice, and visibility. Welcome, Verde Arzu.
Thank you.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I
You do literally everything. You're like my spirit animal.
wanna say I
So
wanna sit down, but, I appreciate you. I appreciate that introduction, and, I'm excited to talk to you because 'cause it's been a minute.
yes, it's been, since the pandemic and everything has changed. So I love to highlight indie authors and I love your stories, but I do want to take a second and talk about your career because I work with people that have special needs and like I said, that just touches my heart. And so how did you get into being a middle school teacher for the special ed population?
Man, I've always worked with kids. It's like it's my calling. It's not like a calling, it is my calling, and I've ran from it for a while because, you always just hear the saying that, teachers don't make a lot of money, right? And, I just didn't want to I wanted to make a lot of money, so I was like, "What else can I do? What else am I good at?" But I kept having all different kind of jobs, working with kids from after school programs to working in, daycare centers, and so I've worked with pretty much every age group of kid, and I moved to Sacramento, and, I was working at a learning center, uh, and then I got laid off because it was 2008, and, it was during that
World fell apart for the first time.
it was bad out here, so I was just, like, trying to figure out, like, "What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do?" And then I found about this job opening at, this non-public school, and in my mind, I'm like, "Higher learning," "I'm about to go in and change these youth," that's what I'm thinking. And, I got in there and it really did change my whole perspective, and I got like a ton of experience, and it was working with a lot of marginalized youth, specifically Black kids who were pushed out of public school districts and forced to get their high school diplomas outside of the district because they had IEPs, they had a lot of behavioral challenges and different things like that, and that's pretty much where I started with working with students who have learning differences and there was just so many Black kids coming in. I was like, I gotta get into the public school and figure out what's going on." And because I'm just like watching the school to prison pipeline, and I'm like, this not cool. So I applied to one of the districts here in my city, and I was really trying to get into the high school because I was like, I was already working with teenagers, so I was thinking that that's really what I wanted to continue to do. And I met Felicia Basent during this. Felicia Basent is like she's super well known in the community, a Black educator, just phenomenal woman. community centered, just, high powered. And um, I sat down and had the interview with her. She was a principal at the middle school that I still work at, and so I'm having this interview with her. I'm like, I leave the interview. I'm like, I hope they don't hire me. I don't wanna work at a middle school. That's what I was thinking. And then, lo and behold, she called me, and, I accepted the job, and I've been a middle school teacher ever since because I absolutely love middle school. It's like, once somebody said, "It's the best kept secret." When I tell people I'm a middle school teacher, and they be like, "Oh, um" no, and I'm like, "These kids are the best. They're hilarious. They keep me young. And, they're just so misunderstood because I think really what I enjoy about it is I just remember myself at that age. It was a tumultuous time. And so they just need somebody with some grace and
Mhm.
some patience. They're gonna test your patience to the limit, to the max. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are days where I'm like, what in the world? Um, I don't know, I just love it, and, I started off teaching special education. I did that for, like, what, 14 years? What, how many years? I don't remember, but, well over a decade, and then I transitioned into teaching general ed special education. I mean, general ed English, sorry, not special ed anymore, but, I'm always a special education teacher. It's just the lens through which I teach, and instead of, pushing kids out, they have opportunity to come into my classroom. They don't have to be in a special education English classroom because they have me. And that's not very, there are not enough general ed teachers who have a special education lens. And so what ultimately happens is our kids get pushed out of general ed classes, which is detrimental because they're being pushed away from their peers. This is where they learn the most. They learn
Mhm.
from their peers, and putting them in those smaller environments, where they only have a particular kind of, you know, population of kids to kind of learn from, and usually are at their level or below. It doesn't provide them with that variety of different types of learning styles to help them learn and grow in the best way possible. Not to say that we don't need those classes. It's just that, some of our students are just being pushed out, and we know who they are. They're
Yeah.
often black and they're often boys, so.
And what are some good ways that parents can advocate for their kids and work with the teachers, especially when they have an IEP?
My goodness, me and my wife just had a community, um, community forum in, Stockton, California for the same reason because,
Wow.
our parents, they're so overwhelmed and confused because there's so much education jargon for one. They go into these IEP meetings, they feel like that their kids aren't getting the services that they need, and oftentimes they're right. And I say one of the best and most important things you can do is actually sit down with that paperwork and or even get with someone who can help you understand it, because you got to understand what your rights are as a parent, which they have many. Just that, it's a lot of words. It's just a lot of education jargon to just kind of unravel so that you can realize, hey, I am in charge here, and my child is the center of everything that we do in these school systems. Oftentimes, parents come in feeling like the school is in charge and they have the power, and really, we are just providing the service. So, that's the number one thing. Understand what your rights are. Get to understand the education system, and oftentimes we don't because we've had trauma ourselves, right?
Yeah, that's true. So you mentioned Sacramento, but you are from Chicago, and I'm sure you'd want me to mention that because everybody that I know from Chicago is very proud. And you started writing when you were pretty young. So how did that storytelling cultivate in you through the years? And then you expressed that in your first book, Rainbow. So tell us a little bit about that journey to Rainbow.
Man, like you said, I've been writing since I could learn how to write. Is I've been First it was pretending to write, pretending to read, and then from there it's just it's like a calling, it's something that I don't feel I can live without. I can do a lot of things, but I cannot not write. And I'm always a story in my head. And I'm sure you can relate to that. Like I'm walking around, no matter what I'm doing, it's like this. There's always some kind of story uh, circulating in my mind. Somebody makes me want to take a part of their personality and create a character. And so that's pretty much how I grew up. I grew up with these stories in my head and writing plays. That's really what my first love was, writing plays. Started, yeah, writing plays and writing poetry and and then it just evolved into writing short stories. That's because I've always been a writer. And the crazy thing is I was just visiting my brother in Georgia, and he pulled out this collection of short stories that I had written.
Wow.
It's like sending them out, to my family members. In it had Promise Keeper at the very, like, the baby stages, and
Mm.
Rainbow was in there, and it just reminded me, "Oh my god, I write so much," you know what I'm saying? There's just so many different iterations, and, my mom, ended up moving, in Chicago. She had to move, and, I lost, like, all of my writings from high school, and, when I think about it, it just breaks my heart because I just wanna look back at that time, and, like, just look and, like, what was I thinking and just kinda, like, reminisce and go down
Mhm.
memory lane. But, the crazy thing is my best friend, her mom we had wrote a play together, and her mom kept it, and
Oh.
she showed it to me, and I was like, "I gotta have that play." And I was just begging her to send it to me, and it's like because it's the only writing that I have in my own handwriting from high school, and so
Mm.
I have it here in my house, and, it is, it's like a keepsake. It's, like, near and dear to my heart because
That's
all of my
beautiful.
other things they got destroyed and thrown away.
Well, I love that. I heard 2 major things. You have a strong support system with your family along for the journey through each iteration, and you love to write. So does that mean you set aside time every day to write or every week, or what's your schedule?
Uh, right I know this is gonna sound bad because 'cause I'm a writer, but I do not write every day. I wish I wrote every day, but I just
Mhm.
that's not real life for me anyway. And I want to be a writer who has that level of discipline. I know that you probably already know this just from, like, looking into me or whatever, but Toni Morris is one of my favorite authors, and I'm like, "Man, she's waking up early in the morning, getting her 30 minutes in and, doing all," and I wanna be that, you know what
Right?
I But, I I just I get it in whenever I can, if there are times where the spirit really moves me and I'm deep in it. It doesn't matter. It don't matter if I'm tired or whatever. Like when it was time to get Promise Keeper to the finish line, I'm up. I'm staying up 2, 3, 4 in the morning. I'm going to bed, late into the nighttime. It doesn't matter because I'm just fueled from some different place.
Mhm.
Um, but right now I'm in a reading zone. I had this editor say that reading is writing, and that's where I'm
Yeah,
at
it's so
because
important. I try to stress that. Like, it helps to just build more stories and you know what you like and how people lay out things, and so, yeah, I'm big into reading and I love autobiographies. I love people's stories.
yeah, absolutely. Because like right now I just feel a little tired from writing because Promise Keeper took a lot. It took a lot to get that story into the world.
So I do want people to know a bit about your work, so can you give us the overview snapshot of what Rainbow is about?
Rainbow is about a story of self-discovery and learning to be true to yourself. It's a Black queer novella. It's a little short story that takes place at a historically Black college and university. Uh, the main characters are Melanie and Taylor. Yeah. And then Promise Keeper. Promise Keeper is a story. It's also a Black queer uh, story. It's a novel, but it's on the shorter end of novels, and it is about learning to keep the promises that we make to ourselves, which are often, the easiest to say, but they're the hardest to keep. And my main character, Shandong, she's black and white, and she's going off to an HBCU for the first time. And this is where she's experiencing like dealing with race and just growing into herself. They're both coming of age stories, and they both take place at the fictional Franklin University, which is really me paying homage to Fisk University because um, FU and that's Fisk is always going to be home to me, and um, it's where I really grew up into adulthood, and so um, I cherish those times, and I think that it's important to to talk more about historically Black colleges and universities.
For
They
sure.
underrepresented and marginalized and intentionally underfunded by the government.
Yeah. And I love that you highlighted so much. How did walking that path pour into your storytelling skills in your writing?
Um, it just cultivated the seeds that were already dropped in me. Um, because I love being Black. I love my I love Black history. I love Black culture. I love being a Black woman. And Fisk just what's the word? It affirmed all of those things for me. And so there really aren't too many classes at Fisk that you're going to take that does not center Blackness. And that's important because outside of, that the world doesn't really show us, oh, you know what? A Black person created that. Oh, did you know a Black person did this? Did you know a Black, you sit in science, you're like, oh, wait a minute. Here's some scientists who are the originators of these things. And then when you walk away, you're like, oh, I'm actually the shit. My people
Mhm.
shit. We done built this shit. And that's pretty much how you walk around. And I still walk around like that because I understand my history. I'm a history major. I'm a history major from a historically Black college and university. So I know who I am. I know who my people are. And all this, everything that all the whiteness of America, it's just laughable.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, I had this conversation about a month ago with Joel Plummer, who I don't know if he was featured during your festival or the one afterward, but he's also a Black historian educator. And he just came out with a book, Black Kid, White School, What They're Not Teaching Your Black Child. And it goes from us being kings and queens in Africa all the way through the slave trade and the resistance here. Beautiful book. So you might want to check that out because you two are very aligned in what you want to what you like to teach.
You said Black kids, white
I'm pretty
school?
sure it's called Black Kid, White School, What They're Not Teaching Your Black Child, and that came out a few months ago, and his episode dropped, I think, at the end of October, so you can always go back and listen to that as well, and, his daughter is actually, I think he said, going to school for art design, and she drew the cover, so it's really cute. It's like a little family project.
Awesome.
So that was a cute story. He was like, "And I always say, 'Know your worth,' so when she did the cover, she charged me." And I was like, "Well, your message is hitting home." So I do wanna talk a little bit about your website, which is verdearzu.com, and you have your well, first, when you first log in, you're getting a first chapter of your main characters 10 years later. So is there a Rainbow 2 coming?
That is an excellent question, and uh, I'm playing around with it, because Taylor keeps coming back to me and Melanie. I love them. I love the feistiness of Melanie, and I love the passion of Taylor and her, and just her just she's zoned in on basketball, but really there's a deeper story underneath that. She's really, still even in her young adulthood, trying to, just be herself and be open to love. And then, Melanie, Melanie is a feisty. She gonna tell it like it is.
We
And
like feisty, grounded, know who you are, unmovable. We need more of that.
Absolutely, especially, Black women in a positive way without, you know, MFers like Stephen A. Smith coming out talking, you know, you you doing too much, with all the stereotypes about black women.
He really confuses me because he does so much with his daughter sitting at his side, and I'm like and she's very feisty and she's very tell it like it is, but I'm like, "She's right here," and it's just when he's by himself, he's a totally different person, but I'm like, "She still hears it." I
And
don't understand the disconnect.
listen, I'm a Stephen A. I am a huge Stephen A. Smith fan, and he's got me questioning that these days. Just basically on the strength of because Black women, we remain under attack, and the last
Mhm,
thing we need is a brother who's got millions of people eyes on him out here talking about Black women in such a degrading way.
mhm.
Acceptable. She's too intelligent, too sophisticated. And you could have had a conversation with her. You have a whole podcast. Why you didn't call her on? He lost me.
I know I had to have, like, a deep conversation with my youngest brother because we talk politics until I'm tired of it and I kinda don't follow as much anymore, but I said, "There's a lot of black men that don't like black women," and he was like, "No, no," and I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, it needs to be studied, I don't know what's going on, but"
Hey, look at Kamala. Go check some of those interviews of those black men and Don Lemon interviewing them and asking them why they were
Mhm.
voting for Kamala and they couldn't think of anything. But they just couldn't do it. But hey, we did have 80%. I don't want people to be jumping.
That's true. That number wasn't high enough for me, but yes, to the 80% that did show up,
They did. So it's not all black men, but it is, quite a
there's
few.
too big of a chunk.
Yes, even some that was at the barbershop I was going to, and I had to stop going to the barbershop there because I didn't even know it. I'm just in there, saying my little bits, keeping everything, but you know, I don't know. I just feel like there is a popular. I just, it's massage noir, really.
Mhm.
It's rooted in anti-blackness, and you know, you we have a lot to deal with and unpack when it comes to racism and white supremacy, and it shows up in a lot of different ways within our own culture, and it's dealing with each other, and I think that that's just a part of it.
Yeah. And so that's why I love your blog, and it's called VA's Blog, where when you feel inspired, you put little nuggets and articles on there, and I love that. So how can people subscribe so that they get the notification when you have a new entry?
You know what? I really need to get my Patreon going so that people can subscribe to
Okay.
because right now you just go to my website and you check out what I have. And right, I'm actually in the process of writing one up on Shador Sanders because I'm
Oh,
feeling
I can't wait to read it.
I'm feeling a little.
Because every week I'm like, "What is happening? What is the issue? This can't just be Coach Prime hate. What is the deal?" So I'll be interested to see your take.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I got some things brewing. I'm writing some notes on it. And I don't write a lot of nonfiction, but from time to time things happen and I'm just like, nah, I need to, sit down and actually just write like a little quick something up, and post it and see what happens.
Yeah. And you also have your folding chair podcast, so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I have a podcast called Verde's Folding Chair. I think I have 2 seasons of it. And I'm every day I'm like, "Where's season 3? Where's season 3?" And here we are in December. I'm like, "Just get on there and post something, so that I can get my season 3 going." But, I just been out here, I call it slanging these books, slanging these books and trying to get into these bookstores. But, Verde's Folding Chair is about making space for, Black women, independent writers, queer writers, and just people of color. And it's named Verde Folding Chair after Shirley Chisholm, who just had a birthday on November 30th, by the way. And Shirley Chisholm, first Black woman in Congress, first uh, woman and Black person to run for any major political party president, and she was a powerhouse herself. And she said that if they don't uh, make space for you at the table, bring a folding chair. And so that's where it comes from. And I'm just making space for myself in this world because we have to be vocal, as you can see, because it's coming from every angle. It's coming from every angle. And especially as Black women, we have to tell our stories. Because Zora Neale Hurston said that if you're silent about your pain, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it. And more and more, I think, like this podcast right here, it's important for us to get to be able to sit down and speak our truth, because people are definitely trying to speak up for us and trying to label us and define us, and we have to define ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So I noticed that you have your book in a lot of independent bookstores. Tell us about that connection.
I don't want to say a lot, man. It's a
There was about 5 or 6 that people can choose from.
okay. I mean, okay, so yes, and what a
Because you
challenge.
didn't just do Amazon and Barnes& and Noble is what I mean, like, you really went outside the box and pushed for independent stores.
Absolutely. I have I'm not just a writer. I'm also I have a publishing company. It's called Rainbow Editions LLC.
Nice.
Relic. And I am learning how to distribute my book so that I can publish other authors.
Oh,
Um, so it's been a quite the journey. Let me just tell you, a lot of bumps and bruises. As a matter of fact, I had a coworker today tell me, here's a because people like, oh man, I was in this bookstore and I just think your book would be great on the shelf. It's this, it's that, it seems welcoming, and all the vibes. And then you go, you knock, hey, I have this book right here, and I'm and they be like, what? You got a book? Like it's like, yeah, isn't this a bookstore? It's like I liken it to selling CDs in out of the trunk of my car,
wow.
trying to get on the radio, you know what I'm saying? That is exactly how it is.
Wow.
It's
You wouldn't
just
think it was still like that.
no, it's definitely still like that. As a matter of fact, when I was in DC, I went to a Black bookstore, and as soon as I said that I was a writer and I had a book, the guy, he was like all smiling and everything. And then as soon as I said it, this is what he did. I was like, "Oh, shit," I told my wife came with me, right? Because I was like, "No, you have to come and experience this." Because everybody's like, "Just go, all you gotta do is, go to this bookstore, go to that bookstore," and then you get in there and people treat you like you're trying to put shoes in a bookstore, or you're trying to
What do you think the resistance is? Is it that they want you to come with, like, "I've got 10 books under my book belt and you have 2," or is it
I think it's about being, it's a part. I think it's really about not being being in a major publishing company. There's still, I think, like a stereotype around self-published or independent published authors.
Oh,
Like
wow.
it's not as high quality or they feel that way. I think that's a part of it. And I also think a part of it is not being a big name. So people don't necessarily respect you. You gotta earn that respect, right? It's like, "Hey, Arzu, what does that mean? What are you writing about? Who are you?" And that's kind of how, not all of them, because as you said, I am in 6 bookstores, but the list of how many bookstores that I've tried to get into it is lengthy, and so I'm just gonna keep trudging and keep knocking on doors and keep going back and asking again and asking again and showing up in their face, and like because I had my cousin was like, you know what? What's the big deal? It's not like all the books by all the major brand authors are just flying off the shelf. Those books sit there, right? Go in there. It's like 10 of this, author's book, and you know what I'm saying? So it's not. I just feel like they have to make space for us, and oftentimes they pretend to make space, because all you have to do is like, what is it called? Third Space Reading Room. It's a Black-owned bookstore in Cleveland, Ohio, the only Black-owned bookstore in Cleveland, Ohio. They have a program for independent authors.
Wow.
Yeah, it's nothing, right? It's a bookstore. They have tons of books, tons of Black books, tons of events. They have a program for independent authors. It's called Indie Inc. And I think it costs like $25 a quarter for me to have
Wow.
on their shelf. And, they gave me an opportunity to even I don't even live in Cleveland. They let me do a virtual author talk. I just did that.
My gosh. Okay, I'm gonna have to look this up.
Absolutely. And they just made space for me and it just felt so refreshing, right?
Mhm.
And a seat at the table. That's a independent bookstore here in Elk Grove. No problem. I think they put my book on their shelf without me even asking. They learned that I was a author in the community.
Yeah, they love community well, most bookstores love community authors, so
Yeah. And so I think that we need more of that. We need it in action and not in the lip service. Because you should want you should want a drove of so many authors coming in, especially from marginalized communities, knocking down the door trying to get that is exactly, especially right now, that is exactly what we need. You need to be overwhelmed by that. And as my what they really need is to ask Indie Inc. how they do it. Okay. Earth Space Reading Room, how you do it. Cause you first of all, you getting a little bit of money from me, right? I'm not really so much into trying to make money right now as I'm trying to get exposure, right? So
yeah.
it's a win-win, right? So yeah, I could go on and on about the indie bookstore experience. It's
Well,
a
I love what you shared because that's something that a lot of people don't think about. Everybody goes right to Amazon, which there's power in that. Amazon is running the world, but there's so much value in being that local featured author or really being somewhere where people can go in a store and touch your book because they want to do that. And now that we're boycotting everything, we might have to circle back to these local bookstores. So I think that's really powerful. So you dropped a little nugget, so I really wanna piggyback on that a little bit. When you start taking on other authors for your publishing company, what stories are you looking for?
First and foremost, I'm looking for Black queer stories, because I think that we need more of that. We need more of that. We need more Black queer stories that are, and I know there are a lot of Black queer stories, but we need them to be mainstream. We need it to be just a part of any other book that you're picking up to read, right? And it just needs to be a natural thing because there's different types of lived experiences, and people need to have that type of exposure so that we can stop with the hate, right? Because you don't have to be it, but you also don't have to hate it, and you don't have to, condemn it, and all these other kind of negative emotions that are coming up inside of you that honestly, you really need to deal with on your own in a personal way and stop projecting them out to other people because it's really not your love. It's not the way you love, but it's still love, right? And so we just need more of those different types of stories in the world to because we have a long way to go when it comes to being more tolerant to diversity.
Mhm. For sure. Again, your resume is long, so we do like to talk about the writing journey, and you did take the writing course, so tell me a little bit about the writing course that you took at UC Berkeley and what you felt that did for your storytelling.
Man, I took several writing classes at UC Berkeley Extension, and they just helped me grow a lot as a writer. I took a class on developing the novel, that birth rainbow. That's because the class taught me just a lot about the publishing process. It gave me confidence in myself to believe that, this isn't, you actually you can create your dream. You can make your dream a reality. That's what that class, the professor was, she was a published author herself, really inspiring, gave me a lot of resources. And I was like, oh, I can do this. It's another class. It was called like Writers Who Steal or something like this. And basically and it's something that I think a lot of artists do and a lot of writers probably do, which is, you're reading something, you're like, damn, that was so good. Let me try that, let me try that, right? And so that's basically what that class was about, giving you permission to actually steal from another author and not
Not
plagiarize.
word for word, but yeah.
Yeah, but like mimicking their style and their their cadence and in the flow of the words and the language and just playing around with it and being free to kind of explore in that
I have
way.
such a complex about that. I
What?
know it's good art practice, but I'm like, I don't ever want anybody to accuse me of, like, plagiarizing or not writing something myself or taking it.
Because I think it's impossible to do unless you are literally stealing somebody else's. But what it could do is, oh, you know what? That line reminded me of this author, right? And how many times have you read somebody's work and you said that, this reminds me of such and such, right? Um, and who knows who they were inspired by? They could have been inspired by the author reminds you of. Right now, my wife is she's listening to I forget the author's name, but anyway, it doesn't matter because I can't remember either one of their names. But she's basically like, this author reminds me of this guy that I listen to. Like I read all of his books. And, it just made me want as a matter of fact, I need to do it because I wanna know who came first. Was it you or you she's like, "It's just too similar," and I was listening to a little bit of it, and I was like, "Yeah, that does sound very similar." Who's the author who wrote Devil in a Blue Dress? What's his
Was
name?
it like Mosby something?
Walter Mosley, yeah.
Mosley, okay.
Walter Mosley, that's him. Yeah, and so she's listening to this guy who reminds her of Walter Mosley, so I'm like, I gotta know, I gotta find out
Well,
who.
Mosley's been around forever, so I'm gonna guess he came first, but I don't know who else she's reading, but I'm like, "Well, he's been around for a minute."
Yeah, he has. He's pumped out. I'm like, "How?" I was taking one of his master classes on the master class app,
Nice.
and he's like, "Write 1,000 words a day." I'm like, "What?" I respect. You can I understand now. I understand how you're able to pump out all those books.
Well, I'm gonna have to look that up because I have the masterclass subscription.
Yeah.
So in the spirit of using other people's work to jump off your art form, how do you feel about the explosion of AI in writing? Do you incorporate AI, ChatGPT, anything in your writing?
Hell yeah. Okay. I'm gonna use every resource at my disposal, and I'm gonna be unashamed and unafraid about it, and I'm still gonna be the writer that I am. You know what I mean? I'm still. I use Google. I use I use other books. Like I just said. Before AI, it was go pick up this book and read it and be inspired, and let me try that line and put that line in my book. So yeah, is AI writing my book? No, but am I using AI to help me? Absolutely. And I don't feel no kind of way about it. I use teachers, I use other authors, I use everything. I use everything that's going to help me be the best writer that I can be. And because at the end of the day, what makes me a writer is the fact that I love writing and I love telling stories. And there's no other thing that's going to be Verde Arzu. I am who I am. There will be tools and things that help me become better. And I'm in the technological age. Of course, I'm using technology.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the beauty of all of you younger people. You grasp on the stuff and you use it so well and master it, and us old people are like, "Okay, let me type my 20 words." But I am getting better. I have started using it a little bit, and I did use it to brainstorm, and it actually gave, like, some great ideas, and I'm like, "Man, that's fantastic." And then it's like, "Do you want me to write a few chapters?" "No." "Take it from my list, I got it from here." But, yeah, it is a good resource, but I know there's a lot of back and forth about using AI and how much to use it, and I think that was one of the issues with NaNoWriMo, which ended up closing their doors earlier this year, which I did not expect, and
I didn't look into it. I don't know what happened. What happened?
well, there were several things, I'll just let you Google, but AI was a small part of it, but there were some things going on with board members that were really bad, and after 27 years, they ended up closing their doors, so it was a little much to overcome. It was bad, so I'll let you Google the rest.
Well, I'm gonna get right to that because it sounds juicy.
Yeah.
I had a friend who told me about AI. She's also a writer. Because I was like, I'm like, no, I'm not, no. And then she just was like explaining it and breaking it down to me, and it started making sense. And I was like, you know what? Wow, this is really is helpful.
So I use it to brainstorm. How do you use it?
I use it to brainstorm. Sometimes I use it to help me with character development. Sometimes with settings. Sometimes with anything that I'm struggling with. I'll use it.
I love that.
Am I gonna use their words? Nah, I'm gonna use my own words because I can do that.
Mhm.
To like, um, the I yeah. I mean, I use it as a teacher in my classroom. It's amazing. Like,
Wow.
yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely using AI, and so are a lot of people.
Yeah, you're gonna inspire me to maybe delve more into it.
Yeah, and I feel like I feel like what's happening is uh people are using AI um as like this is it's like this is me, Then when you say I'm using AI, everybody's like, you're just using those words. Well, no, I'm not, I'm not everybody else. I'm not just gonna, use just, somebody else's words and claim that they're mine, right? Um I have some AI images in my book. AI generated the images. Did I say that? I absolutely did. I said that in my book.
Nice. That
Yeah.
I haven't been able to master, but I think that's not a Chat GPT thing. I think there are other programs that are better with the images. So I have to get that. But I had to overcome the I think AI is great for our art form. It's horrible in the legal field, as we have seen. And so I think that just instilled the fear in me. I'm just starting to see attorneys get in trouble because it's great at making up stuff. But when you're writing a novel, that's what you wanted to do. And it's really good at that.
You wanna use it as a tool. It is not better than you. That's the thing. It is not better than you. It can't be. It is a algorithm. It's literally numbers, like, you just plug stuff in it, and it's gonna give you the same shit you just asked for back.
Yeah. And I had a judge today, because I had a continuing education class, and the judge was saying, if you put the wrong prompt in AI and it gets an idea of what you want to hear, it's very pleasing. So it's going to tell you what you want to hear. But that's not gonna be accurate. It just wants to make you happy, and the judge is not happy on the other end. So when you want somebody to make a decision on your life, don't use AI.
You know what? I was on social media and there's this creator talks about AI all the time and how dangerous it is because some people are using AI as like their therapist, and
Mhm.
someone committed
They
suicide.
did.
And
Yeah.
damn, these tools in the hands of the wrong people, it could be dangerous. And I was just like, wow, because literally I don't think they're explaining it to us in that simplistic way that it is it's a program. You program it, and then it's gonna give you back, the same thing that you just
What
asked.
it think yeah, what it thinks you want.
It's not a brain, it's not a human brain, and it's never going to be.
Yeah.
You can never be that afraid because I personally feel, but I am a reader, that our brains are always going to be better, right? So
So I wanna make sure that people know how to get in touch with you. We talked about your website, Verde Arzu. VerdeArzu.com. How else can people keep in touch with what you have going on?
I'm all over the place, y'all. Okay. I'm on IG. If you type in Verde Arzu, you're gonna find me because it's such a unique name. But it's the underscore writer underscore Verde underscore Arzu on IG. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on uh TikTok. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn, and it's all under my name, Verde Arzu. So
I
uh,
love that.
just hit me up and check out my blog um on my website, and that's where you can find my nonfiction pieces. And also, like Nadia said, if you read Rainbow, there is a pop-up that comes up on verdearzu.com where there's Melanie and Taylor 10 years later, and you get a little snippet of what they've been up to, and possibly there will be more to come from Melanie and Taylor because they won't leave me alone.
So everybody subscribe to that newsletter, get your chapter. She will see the numbers run up, and then she will give us the rest of the book.
Thank
Basically, that's what I hear you saying.
you. Yeah, yeah. Let me get some emails. Treat me. Yeah, put it on in the system.
And I wanna shout out the sweater really cute. It's really cute, so I wanted to make sure I say I don't know where you got it, but
Oh,
I want one.
it's this company called Black Author Brand, and they're on IG, and they help Black authors. Mm,
Okay.
help Black authors become published writers. They have workshops and all kinds of great stuff. But they also have this beautiful, swag that you can walk around and represent yourself, and it's an easy conversation
Way to
piece.
market. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna get me one for Christmas for myself because we have to treat ourselves well. Well, I wanna thank you for coming back. It's so good to check in with you 5 years later. From the pandemic till now, we both grown so much as artists. So, thank you again. It was wonderful having you, and we look forward to Rainbow 2 whenever that drops and your future publishing company, and I just can't wait to see how else you grow and shine and thrive. So, thank you.
Yeah, Nadia, I appreciate it. I appreciate knowing that you're out here still writing and still promoting Black authors and authors, period, in general, and creating space for us. It's important, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you for having me on today.
Absolutely.